Or second, third.
Oh, so, yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's fine. It's good
Okay, so-
conversation.
Other is 0. So the rest of section 1, general government, are we good with?
So, yes.
Now we can get on. Wandered around capital items.
Well, historically been 300, right?
Yeah, which is like 1% of the total town operating budget.
Right.
I don't have a good feel for the total value of all the buildings and capital in town, but,
And we had a pre-plan or estimate of where we,
yeah.
which were pretty much there. So Kelly proposed.
And as with any of the other guidelines, it's no guarantee.
Right.
We could get to the point of balancing the budget or looking at expenses and saying, you know what? No,
That's right.
that one has to fall off. I think Kelly had agreed to undertake to sort of prioritize the capital items, so.
Yeah,
It kind of doesn't
Well,
matter.
no.
yeah, I mean,
It kind of doesn't matter, because we get the list of each item.
Right.
We're just sharing what we would like to see, but.
And I think we just do an extra careful scrutiny on, you know,
We're already having
the
that
frequency of the police cruisers, for example.
Yes.
Can that all get pushed out another year or two or three? What are the effects of that? Is that really optimized where it's at, or can we stretch more or not?
Is that capital or is that C?
Capital.
Let me see.
C is the automobile leasing, not the buying
Yeah, this is-
outright.
I would say keep it level at 300.
300,000, and then we'll see where we get to.
In its essence, that's a 0% increase.
That's right.
Yeah.
And even with that, we still look at the 300, what's in
Oh, yeah.
each individual
I mean,
item.
Each item ends up as a warrant article, and we have to make a recommendation on it. And we may decide not for something, or the number may change.
Right.
Because people get real quotes.
All right, so.
Okay.
The big two.
Well, and leaving item 5 at no new programs, everybody's happy with that?
Absolutely.
Let's just do the easy stuff. And on the back, explaining, detailing essential services that are unfunded in terms of cost and narrative. That's okay too. So it comes down to the increases for the 2 school districts.
For the elementary schools being the liaison, I'd love to be able to say that should be 0 or a low number, but, I mean, I've been through every single line of that budget. But
It's completely
the school,
unrealistic.
it's just not,
Completely unrealistic.
it's so hard to get at
At 3%.
the 3%. So I think
Right.
if we hold that guideline the same as the guideline of last year, because we already squeezed that down from the prior years, I still think that's gonna be really hard for them to hit.
I agree.
Yeah.
Based
And I
on-
think we
based
try
on
our
what we've seen.
absolute best to hold them to the guideline.
And it may mean hard choices for the school committee.
Or they can decide to go for an override.
So do we know what the salary increase is going to be, salary and benefits under the contract, and what percentage of that is of the budget?
It's,
I don't know if Steve has that off the top of his
next
head.
year
but
is 2.5% or 2?
It's 2 now.
Next year's 2.5%.
2.5%.
But the
on
percentage
the
of
grid.
that on the overall budget?
Don't know.
Yeah, but it's increased, it's a,
The-
the way they do their budget is grounds up, and they're in the early days of doing that, so it's not just last year's model, fast forward, where you keep costs the same and add the head, so, but it's a higher percentage. Special ed every year is a higher percentage.
In addition to their cost of living, they've got steps and levels on the grid, which is several percent typically.
So that means they're at 4+% just on salaries.
Minus if anyone leaves and they bring in the reset for
Right.
people.
So
the high-
3%,
And typically salaries are 80%-ish of the school budget, I think.
So to get
Similar
down
to
to a
the town.
3% number, you have to save,
That's my
you
point.
have to reduce the
Yeah.
expenses.
Yeah.
your
And
operating
that's
Yeah.
my
budget.
point, it's unrealistic to
Yeah.
hit the guide,
It typically comes to headcount.
or larger
So,
class
right,
sizes, which
So
gets
were you
picked.
suggesting 3, or were you?
We see the, I'm confident in the school's process. I think we, if people wanna take that the others are 0 and we're at 2.5, that we're giving the schools special treatment, I don't think we are, because I think they've got a very, very hard problem to solve.
It's not the same.
But I also
comparison.
wanna make sure that everybody knows that we're really trying to tighten the belt. And I think if the schools go after that 2.5%, we're gonna get the banded chart, and we're gonna have the data to figure out where are we really cutting too far. And so I think at 2.5%, we'll see more in the banded chart than if we say 3%.
But the banded chart always does go into, it goes beyond typically.
That's right.
Here was your guideline, now we could cut more, and there's usually one more step.
Right, but usually the initial draft of the budget is so high that it's banded from guideline.
So I'm arguing, and I recognize there's a proposition 2.5, but I'm suggesting we would consider a more reasonable number of 3%. They're not going to get 2.5 unless there's some cuts.
Yes.
And a 3% number at least gives them the ability to maintain as much as they can within the initial band before they get to the stuff we're gonna have to cut.
Yep.
And the band would then show a 2-point-something% as well, if we're right? Or do they
Probably.
start from 3? and
We
then
can
do-
ask them
Yeah.
where to start.
I think-
Typically,
I mean,
I think it does,
do a plus and
because
minus.
you can't hit the exact
You can't hit the
percentage.
exact number, so you end up getting a
typically
little
you
bit
see
below.
one more
The
cut.
problem with this is they got a 4% increase in salary, I don't know the number, I'm just using that as a guess. They've got a 8 to 10% increase in health benefits.
No, town holds the
Town
health benefits
holds
Town holds
road.
that.
For the elementary
I
school.
was thinking Masco.
For Masco.
And then holds the pension as well.
Yeah,
Okay. So it's really just the salary.
it's really just the salaries, plus whatever other
So-
curriculum
So
materials,
to
building
overcome,
maintenance.
I'm sorry, to overcome the 4% increase, that means they have to make adjustments in their staffing. Some way, shape, or form. Somebody leaves and gets replaced.
Yep, they were.
Multiple somebody's leaving and replaced, or we reduce that staff in an environment where the population is growing.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, that's
That's
always,
every year,
that's
that's
a
always
big
the problem.
Right. So if we use the 2.5,
Well-
that would force a lot of gyrations and override, and in fact, ultimately, that's not
Well-
included here.
You don't know until we're much farther along
That's
in the
the whole thing,
process
'cause
whether
they're
an
right.
override's needed or not. Even at 2.5%, you might need an override, depending on
Right, absolutely.
what insurance costs do, for example.
I was just saying that if the asks were at a level that our committee wasn't comfortable supporting, at that point, you could say, well, if that's really that needed, then go for an override, and that's how we solved it a few times in the past. I think in town, people think the override's a very negative thing, where it's more of, it's a function to make sure that people are having a discussion about where that spending is. But
I think typically, the finance committee has supported a guideline that's higher than 2.5% for the schools, just because we understand schools are important. So, yes, Proposition 2.5 says overall the total tax levy can grow by 2.5%. Like Mike said, the pensions and insurance already put paid to that.
But to Dan's point, I could support a 3% percentage there, because I think that's still very, very, very difficult to meet.
So I know it's confusing to support something that's more than 2 or 2.5. But to do something that's not realistic, I'm not sure how that benefits the process.
Yeah,
Unless-
it just adds to the bands.
It adds to the bands, that's changed the color of the bands and adds the number of bands. So we can see exactly what the decision is.
And if you look back at the years you've been on this committee or the years I've been on this committee, I don't think you've ever seen numbers below that.
No.
3.
And there's very few things on those bands that you're not like, well, that makes a lot of sense to do.
And the issue that we always come to is, over the long term, how is that sustainable? And it's sustainable with no growth in the town, which we get very little of, and other things that can offset that.
More state aid?
Is that going up this year?
I severely doubt it.
So this is the, kind of the catch-22.
Yeah. Yeah, it comes down to what services do
Or
you
essential.
want? What class size do you want for the schools? Because that's really their only lever.
I vote for 3.
3% is,
3?
Yeah, I vote for 3.
and I think as liaisons, you'll also talk about the maintenance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we need to differentiate the two with the insurance?
Oh, now to look at Masconomet,
Yeah,
we were
yeah.
talking elementary.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, you do have the advantage with Masconomet, the population is declining
Declining.
marginally, maybe.
True, but so yeah, that could kind of balance that.
And as John points out, marginal decrease, depending on where that spread, isn't all that helpful. There's 1 or 2 in a class. That's
Oh,
not-
yeah.
Then we lose a section.
Yeah, well, it's the same problem with the elementary school. It's a big swing in class size if you go from 4 classrooms of 20 to 5 classrooms of 16, or 4 classrooms of 25 to 5 to 20. There's no middle ground.
Right.
We just don't have huge schools.
Point out that last year, when we did do a headcount reduction, we did come in less than we had originally predicted we would.
Yeah.
This year, that will be tough for a lot of reasons, but I do foresee the exercise that led us to do that last year is one we are going to repeat and will, again, most likely reduce the headcount for our staff going forward. But this year is probably not the year that's going to happen.
What was the number last year? Do you remember that we came in at?
As far as staff?
Yeah.
I mean, staff reduction.
No, the
was
overall
it
budget
three
growth
overall?
number.
Oh, the budget number, I didn't bring that, I don't.
Yeah, well, that's
Recertification, Yeah.
We ended up recertifying a little lower because we found another way to save some money.
And I think they were below guideline.
I dig through my,
We tried.
Yeah, I've got it too.
Well, it wasn't like that the year before, but.
I know it was the year before.
Yeah,
From 18 to 17, what we had before says it was 2.9,
it was a good number last year.
Yeah.
2.93.
And that was on the open, well, that was,
That's
no,
this year's.
that's this,
It's-
that's,
Oh, that's going into, no, that's because it's saying 18 to 17.
yeah, I think that's
Right.
mislabeled.
Oh,
That's-
okay.
yeah,
that's
that was just
1980.
the 3% before the cap.
Okay.
I've got
Oh,
the
okay.
Masco thumb now.
All right.
But that table's interesting because it doesn't go, as you would think, flat or down at a steady pace. There's a couple little ripples in it. I don't have that in front of me.
The debt is what the debt is
Right.
at some level, and it's a small portion.
The debt payments will start to decrease a little bit as we get to the end of the bonds.
But it's a couple $100,000
Yeah,
in
exactly. It's
Topsfield,
not a
I
big
think,
amount.
it's not a big. It's not a big difference. Yeah, I mean, Masconomet does hold its insurance and pension costs. And so there have been years where we've differentiated the guideline between the two, and there's been other years we haven't.
The difference between the elementary schools are increasing this year,
And-
and a little bit in head count.
Yeah.
Right, and Masco is probably not,
Yeah.
so that washes to me.
I'm sorry, the population?
The
The
school
overall.
school population is trending down slightly for Masco.
Right.
So that plus
Whereas,
the
and
insurance
that
evens out.
counterbalances the insurance, so we keep it, we're saying 3 for the elementary and 3 for Masco.
Is that what we used last year?
Three? Yeah, I think so.
And the insurance, Shay, is, are you seeing anything in the marketplace that indicates what's gonna happen?
Yeah, it's not good. Now, that's an easy statement to make sadly, but, I mean, what I heard was approaching double digits.
Yeah, like 8 or 9.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, if not
If
in
not
double
10,
digits,
yeah.
it's right at what they're looking
And last year, we thought
We
the
had the-
same
well, we had
thing.
the benefit
No,
of the-
last year we had an accounting benefit, right? We were
Just
able
in terms
to,
of how we looked at how many
Yeah.
people.
how, they swapped the program, which helped a
Well, I was
little
gonna say, the
bit.
plan design change had some impact, right?
It did. What
You
also
can't
had,
do that switching it.
yeah, we had to two-year commitment. Next year, they could look at going to the GIC or doing something else and seeing what the cost is for that. But this year, there isn't, they essentially they're contractually, I don't know if it's contractual, that's the right word, but they're in a 2-year plan. Last year, we had some savings as well because we were building our growth off of plan rather than actual each year. So there's a little bit of save we're able to bring back in to the insurance costs overall. That's why last year came in significantly less. Those two combined. We don't have either of those this year.
You know, if you look at the town pensions and insurance, it's maybe 20%-ish of the town operating budget. So if the same held true for Masconomet, when 20% of your budget goes up 10%, well,
That's 2%.
yeah,
2%
right
right
there.
2% right there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Before you hit salaries, before you hit anything like that, 2% even that.
Which is why in some years we gave Masconomet an extra percent.
There's not a lot to play with.
No,
No.
there's not a lot of levers to pull.
It really gets down to, do you wanna have the same level of services, or what do you really get rid of?
Or do you start looking at other things that we can't affect this year?
We can't
but
affect
long-
here, like regionalization and other broader topics. Revenue streams.
I was wrong, Masconomet's debt is almost 300,000 to Topsfield.
But tapering down till, what'd you say, 2022?
Not going down until 2020.
6.7 million's retired in 2020,
2020.
10 million in 2022, and the last 10 million of the current bond series in 2023.
That's actually not
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be replaced.
Well, that.
Well,
I'm fine,
hopefully
it's,
with
yeah,
state aid.
yeah.
Right.
And-
Yes,
State help would
exactly.
be nice.
Yeah, we still haven't heard, we're not gonna hear anything on Donnie Bristol till next, right?
Next month.
Next, December, right?
But in some sense, that was this year's problem.
Yeah.
It's done,
Yeah.
that's, it is what it is.
No, but you don't
And
roll
if-
back.
But if it's
Well,
400,000 back into there,
But,
What's that?
I mean, that's separate from
right.
balance.
It's not gonna drive the guidelines.
Right.
Yeah.
I
What
think
do we
we keep
think
it,
on
I keep
Masco?
it balanced.
Well, there's two numbers banding about 3 and 4. I can't conceive of how they get under 4. I understand how we got to the number last year. I would suggest either 3.5 or 4%. 3.5 is, with the numbers you're talking about for pension and insurance, I don't see how that's achievable.
But, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to seeing, and I'm not looking at the budgets closely as you are, but seeing where we fall on that step as things reduce. You know, if there's 20 people that step out, that's, and it happened to be, they could release a teacher, that's $80,000, $70,000 in release. You know, which is is a percent, it is 1%. You know, so, I mean, we're kind of dealing with the variable of okay, with this trend down, does it actually materialize in a savings or not? We're guessing
They
on
got
that.
reductions last year.
But-
They had those reductions last year.
We actually
Yeah.
only get a quarter of,
And we only get,
And
that's
we only
right.
get a quarter, so
Right.
that's
You're
the
right,
other
you only
problem,
get a-
so it's like, when we just made the adjustments,
yeah.
it's unlikely that there's another adjustment right now, is what the early signs are.
Well, I mean, we are talking just a guideline.
Yeah.
And Masconomet's gonna go through its process and vet everything, and,
We'll
you
know
know,
the details.
as, yeah, as with the elementary schools, you know, they come back and we hear. A guideline is not a permission to spend.
I think 3% gives us more information. Yeah.
And I like how it's uniform with 3% for the elementary schools.
As long as we all
With
understand there's more risk
population
in that
shifts.
than there is in the elementary school.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more risk, and we have to be prepared to, if they come in at 3%,
wisdom.
equally question them as to how did they get to 3%, you know? Or whatever they get at, how did they get to it?
I think that makes sense, to use the 3% guideline, and then we go through that banding process and try to understand where you are above or below that, John? Above or below?
Or either way, understanding, when you're below, you wanna understand why.
And the, you know, the MCAS results continue to do very well against the very best schools in the state.
No, I'm sorry, the what?
The
MCAS.
MCAS results.
Massachusetts Comprehensive Assessment.
Is there a charge for that? Is that what you're saying? I don't hear what you're saying.
No, I
Credit to
think
the
he's,
schools.
as a credit to them,
Right.
we're
Oh,
doing a fine
absolutely.
job
No, that's-
educating and not spending what Wayland spends.
Right.
And I'd also point out, we're actually losing 6 figures in state support this coming year because we were named a Tier 1 school district. So our success has caused us to lose money that had been provided on the basis of helping us reach Tier 1, so.
Congratulations, you're reaching that, we
Yeah.
took the money away
Yeah,
from you.
but let's go back to 2 to kind of drop the performance
And
down.
in years past, I kept hearing the arguments, why we had to spend money to get from tier 2 to tier 1. And then we got there, and now it costs more money.
And, yeah, thank you, Steve.
Unreal.
I think the realtors ought to thank you more than we do.
So I think the 3% makes sense.
3%?
I hope that's not taken as not supportive.
No, it's a baseline.
It's someplace to,
It starts a conversation.
It's a guideline.
It's not a promise. And it's not permission.
I do think that Masco did a tremendous job last year on the work you did, John, and your team, what you did, so.
Okay, so 3% there. Does anybody see anything else? I can take this draft and insert the character of the budget sentence, and I can insert the methodology sentence. And I'll update those 4 numbers. So if you all
So do we need,
authorize
do we
me
need
to
to
do
do
that.
a motion to approve
Yeah.
those changes?
Yeah, and then authorize me to make the edits and transmit it.
Can I just ask a point of
Yeah.
clarification? So just going back to the other items, the items that are in that are contractual, like leases on copy machines, the audit's going up by like $4,000, the trash contract is going up. Do you want those pulled out and put on the essential unfunded, or do you want those still included with a note that's saying the contractual items?
Yeah,
I
and
think-
that would, the latter would
What's on the
probably.
trash, that's built into the model.
Yeah, but in terms of the guideline,
All right.
the guideline is 0% on other.
Right,
And so,
If other
Something has
goes
to go
up,
down to offset the.
yeah, you know, if you wanna look at, well, the municipal solid waste, household hazardous waste, that's all that's in that. Do you wanna hold that to 0%, or do you want her to put it on essential unfunded, that, well, 0% was 400,000, but we have a contractual obligation to go to 420.
or even like, I mean, I'll just give you an example having to do with my department. It covers the audit, which is in the realm of $20,000, it's going to $24,000.
So do you have to take $4,000 out of the
Out
rest
of,
of
out
your
of the
other?
$400 that's left,
Yeah.
you know, for office supplies. You know, so like, how do you wanna see that across the board for all departments?
Yeah. I think it,
I mean, the whole point is to get those itemized, right? I mean,
I
where
think,
we
I
see
think
it
it's, in
show
order
up.
to hit zero, these are the things that we would have to remove. And, or, hey, we modeled that we need zero, but we also need these because they're essential. That's the point of the sheet. So I think that,
So you want them in essential unfunded,
I
separated,
think
pulled
so.
out?
I think it has to.
I think it has to.
The extra.
So you want 0% in everything that goes above and beyond that for whatever reason in essential unfunded?
Unless you can find a way to.
Unless you
fund-
negotiate your budgets, yes, I
Yeah,
understand
that's
that, yeah.
exactly right.
And
Yeah.
I think with the small town hall departments, in the past, we've taken the point of view, well, if the clerk needs an extra couple thousand, but the accountant doesn't need an
Right.
extra
That
couple
work's gonna
thousand, we'll
enable us
balance
to
it.
really see if we're real, there's no more,
Okay,
yeah.
I just see that as being a question, so I just wanna have an idea on that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
well,
we've asked questions, you know,
Yeah.
why did we go up that much or
Okay.
not that much?
yeah, and I think, you know, all the liaisons talk with your department heads about, okay, you know, 0% on other, you know, your other total is $5,000. And if you've got $1,000 addition, well, it
Yeah.
has to go in essential unfunded. It doesn't mean we wouldn't pay it, especially
Especially if it's contractual, you have no choice.
but to have it clear,
It'll make for a quick conversation.
yeah, it could. Once again, it's guidelines, it's not permission, it's not prohibition, it's a starting point.
Okay. And again, with any changes in personnel hours, benefit eligible, you want that pulled off again as we did
Oh,
last
yes.
year? Okay, just wanted to clarify, thanks.
absolutely.
No new government sort of, and no new programs goes to,
Yeah,
yeah, additional hours for people.
yeah,
And if it's got if you're combining part-time positions to a full-time, that has an
That would be
impact.
on it.
okay.
So we have a motion from you, right?
Yeah, so a motion would be to fill in the X's and insert the sentences and methodology and the other paragraph regarding character budget as discussed. And also I move that Karen be authorized to insert in the percentage that we discussed. So 0% for other, 3% for, I'm sorry,
300,000 for the,
300,000 for the capital, 3% for elementary schools, and 3% for Masconomic, as discussed.
You authorize me to, okay.
Second.
So moved.
And submit it, right?
And I'll send it
And
to,
submit it to the various departments.
practically speaking, what I do is give it to Kelly and let her. Okay, so Lou, Che, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Thank you. Correspondence, there was another email request for personal email addresses. Topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair, there are none.
I just want to make a comment on the email, personal email, if I may, as an appointing official for the finance committee. It is my strong recommendation that nobody on this committee give their personal email. And this is based on some of the moderator meetings, Massachusetts moderators' recommendation is that personal email be not used in official capacities. And so I urge all of you not to use. We have set up finance at topsfield.org, and I think that's the one we should be using for conducting all finance committee business.
Topsfield-ma.gov.
Okay.
There's also an article in City and Town that supports that. It was either this month's or last month's, that personal emails are not.
What's the
Recommended.
risk on it, just out of, what's the downside of it?
Well, the downside, I think you can all imagine that if there are discussions that become under the open meeting law, you have to then make sure that all of the other emails in your personal email are not related to any, through any strings. And then it becomes, ask Mrs. Clinton, she knows well. The whole process of emails has become very litigious. And at this point, the recommendation from most attorneys, including the Attorney General, is to not use personal email.
Okay, all right, I wasn't quite, I just wanted to hear.
Yeah. Upcoming meeting schedule, it'll be January 8th, Monday, January 8th. And pretty much weekly, but not on federal holidays. So I think the 8th and then the 22nd and 29th. And then on into February.
February 12th, I won't be. We'll get to that.
I'll write that down.
Yeah. So-
Helicopter skiing?
No, I have to work, I have to.
It's nice that they tell you that far in advance.
No, it's 2
So
weeks.
January 8th,
January 8th.
and so I don't have the calendar right in front of me, but you want the budget packets the week before?
Before that,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
if you would, please.
Yep.
You doing a full tour?
Yeah, well, I've got a couple of.
January
I have people
Oh,
here.
motion to adjourn, I'm sorry.
Second?
Second? Okay, there you go.